So we're just gonna quit our job in the middle of a global pandemic. Hey, what's up guys? It's your girl Jasmine, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a chit chat get ready with me, talking about my journey after graduation in the midst of COVID. So if you want to hear about my story as well as see how I got this look, go ahead and keep watching. So if you've had the chance to watch my first video, you know that I mentioned that I graduated in spring of 2020 from Seattle University, and I feel like when you graduate, they say there's already a set of challenges that you'll face, but when you graduate in the midst of COVID, I feel like there's a whole new world of challenges that you face. So I figured I'd come on and just kind of share my experience, because I feel like there's so many people that are probably going through the same thing, as well as if you are graduating this upcoming year, kind of give you some guidance and some knowledge and make you kind of feel at ease with this new transition. But first, it's time for foundation. I've already gone ahead and prepped the skin, did the brows. I'm using my Fenty Hydrating Liquid Foundation in a shade 385. Now, don't come for me. Please don't come for me. This is actually my summer shade, so it's going to be a bit darker on me. But I feel like we're in March already, so the sun's going to start poking through. So why? But yeah, like I was saying, graduated in 2020 in the midst of COVID, and I believe my set of challenges or my difficulty kind of began pre-graduation actually. So we're gonna take it a little bit back. And so I felt like they say to go ahead and get internships, right? And so I wasn't able to get internships because I had to work. I had to work full-time and go to school full-time, as well as I needed the money like in my pocket. I needed spending money, because you know your girl likes to spend a little bit of money. It's probably a little bit too much, but we like to spend. And so I was feeling like everyone around me, everyone in my classes, like everyone graduating, kind of already knew like what they wanted to do, like the career they wanted to go into, or they had the internships, or they had their, like, it seemed like they had their plan all figured out post-graduation. And like I said, I wasn't able to do internships, and they really emphasize getting internships because that is like your trial period of being able to kind of see what you like, see what you don't like. But a lot of the times internships are unpaid. So I'm like, I can't get an intern, like I can't, like it just didn't make sense, and like it wasn't enough time in the day to balance a full-time job, full-time student, as well as working a part-time internship. And so I remember like people in my class like, oh yeah, I have my internship here, I have my internship there, or oh yeah, I'm doing all this, and I'm just like, girl, I'm just trying to graduate. Like I'm just trying to graduate, because for the longest, for like I was in school for 5 years, undergrad for about 5 years. I did take a little bit of time off, but for the longest, my main goal was I just want to graduate, because that was something that was the first in my family to do. And so my goal was to graduate. And so now you're asking me, what am I going to do after? Like, I didn't think that far. Like, I didn't get to that point, nor did I feel like I really had the opportunity to explore different options as well. And so typically, I don't know if I mentioned it, my major was sociology. And so typically when you go into sociology, some dominant careers like include social work or nonprofit organizations or going into law. Those are just some of the more main careers post-graduation, but none of that sounded fun to me. Like it didn't. I love helping people, and I love having an impact on people's lives, but for me, doing that 40 hours out of a week just didn't sound appealing to me at all. And so I was like, no, I don't like that. I'm not liking that. Like, that doesn't sound good. That's just not sounding good either. Like, I don't know. And so that's where an internship would have been perfect. It would have come into play. Because one, it gives you the chance to, I'm actually going to go in with my concealer now. This is the Fenty Beauty Concealer shade 350. One, internships give you the opportunity to kind of, like I said, figure out what you like and what you don't like, but it also gives you the opportunity to network and build relationships, which is so imperative because in today's climate, like everything's all about relationships, who you know. That's the sad truth about our current job market, but it's really about who you know, how you know, and who can kind of pull those strings and those doors that can get you in front of the right people. Granted, this is not to say like if you don't have those relationships or if you didn't have an internship, you're screwed. No, that's not, I'm not saying that at all. It just definitely helps, from my understanding, to have those internships where you can build those relationships that you can fall back on. You can have people that can vouch for your skills. You have people that can vouch for your work ethic, and people that can really get you into the right doors. I'm actually gonna finish with that really quick before blending it out and using my Fenty Espresso. I feel like you hear it in the background. Those are my animals. I have 2 cats and a dog. And I feel like when they see me setting up, that's Pierre coming over here. When they see me setting up, that's their cue to like, hey, like let's run around and make a whole bunch of noise. Like mom is like not trying to get us to be quiet. So sorry about that. But yeah, that's not saying that you aren't going to be able to get those job opportunities post-graduation without an internship, but it definitely helps. So before COVID hit, figuring it out, not really sure. I did some research on my own, and then I was like, you know what? I feel like one career that is actually might be interesting to me is going into public relations or going into marketing, which are very close-knit career fields. But I was also feeling so discouraged because when you look at, sorry guys if it looks like I skipped forward a bunch of steps. My dog was actually barking. He heard someone outside, so I do apologize for that. But what I was saying was, because I was unable to get those internships during school because of like, you know, work and school balance, I went ahead and I started researching some potential careers I can go into, which is something I always recommend for anyone that is trying to figure it out. And I was actually drawn to a career in public relations and marketing, which are 2 fields that typically work hand in hand or pretty close together. Now, I began to get discouraged because I was feeling like, or when I was looking at some potential careers, a lot of the times the qualifications included people that majored in communications or in marketing or in business or in journalism. And I'm like, oh, here's little old me with my sociology degree. And so I started to kind of feel like I got this degree that I wasn't going to be able to use because the careers that I was actually interested in didn't really match with the degree itself. But someone informed me, I don't know how true it is, something that's often said is that your degree doesn't really matter, of course, unless it's some electrical or tech or something like that. Your degree doesn't really matter, just shows that you completed something. Now, I don't know how true this is, but I kind of use that as a motivation for me not to get just too discouraged from it and just go ahead and still pursue a career or interest in those fields. And so ultimately, school went all online the second to last week of winter quarter. And so I was at home. The job that I was working closed because, of course, COVID. Sorry, I was trying to find my brush. The job I worked at was closing because of COVID. And so I think that COVID really forced all of us to stop and slow down. And for me, it was, even though definitely it still is such a devastating event in our society and our culture, it was a way for all of us to kind of really stop and slow down and like focus on ourselves, improve ourselves, improve ourselves, really hone into who we are and what we want to do, as well as for me, it was an opportunity to like just focus on school. Like it was my final quarter and all I had to do was focus on school, which was like, oh, amazing. And for me, even like going to school online was super easy for me. Obviously there was some difficulty just kind of like do I get out of bed? Do I like, just because a lot of times if you're in school, you know that professors often record the lectures. So obviously those are some challenges that I faced, as well as I had some roommates that were also in school. So just kind of like navigating our schedule and all of us kind of being in the house together. But the actual online portion wasn't difficult for me at all. I quite enjoyed it because I'm like, ooh, I get to stay at home and be in my pajamas and I don't have to commute. And I also like only had to focus on school. Like I only had to focus on these assignments. I didn't have to figure out how am I gonna get an assignment done, as well as go to this 8-hour shift. Like 8-hour shift, come home, work on an essay, stay up till Friday. Like that was, I didn't have to do that anymore, which was such a relief off of my plate. It was time for me to focus on school, but then it also gave me the time to kind of really focus on myself and focus on like, what am I gonna do now? Like what am I gonna do after graduation? Because you only got a couple more weeks of this, and then you got to create a whole new goal. Like you have to figure it out. And so it was around, I believe it was June or July, when things started opening back up. Obviously, well, I wouldn't say obviously, but we didn't have a graduation. Let me pause this. So I finished school in June of 2020, and like most universities, we didn't, of course, have a formal graduation, which definitely sucks. It was like you worked so hard for a degree, and one of like the big monumental moments is, of course, like walking across the stage, and we didn't have that. But at that point, I was just like, you know what? Just give me my degree. Just mail me my degree so I can be done with this. My ear is looking weird. Just mail me my degree so I can be done. I am okay without an actual graduation. It obviously like sucked for my parents and like sucked for my mom because she was so excited, my grandma, but you know, we just had to, with everything, just had to adapt. And so that was fine. So June and July, beginning of July, I wasn't working still because my job was closed, and I didn't have school, and I'm just like, life's good. Like this, obviously it's not great because of what's going on, but I was really just able to use that time to refocus on things that I like, read some books, go out on walks, go hiking. We went to a local beach that was really small and compact. So it was, for me, it was like, I'm living it's a time that I needed to just stop and refocus on myself, without having to worry too much about school and about work. And so I'm actually gonna pause really quick. I'm gonna set my face. I'm using my Laura Mercier setting powder. We love a good setting powder, just to kind of set everything in place. And so here in Washington, kind of restrictions begin to be lifted in July, I believe it was July. And my job called us back to work, which was no problem at all. I go into work, and because of some circumstances, like personal circumstances and things, I felt like they weren't complying with COVID regulations, and my dad, it just wasn't a good fit for what I had going on. Plus I was like, I really want to begin finding my career after graduation versus working a job that I could have had that doesn't require the degree. And so that was also one of the really big things for me, even before COVID hit, was I wanted to find a job, a career after graduation that would be like a career, actually, not a job that isn't in my field, like an actual career. And so I was just like, you know what, it's time for me to like find that job. And it's going to be difficult for me doing that, working over 40 hours a week, because they were short staffed, as well as they weren't keeping up with COVID protocols. And so I decided in the middle of COVID to quit my job, my customer service job. Now, this is no way, shape, or form telling you to quit your job. If you're graduating or have already graduated and you have like a retail or customer service job, this isn't me saying, hey, you know what, go quit your job and find that career, girl. No. If you need to, I don't think I have that brush, but I thought I grabbed it. we're just gonna use this one now. If you need to work to like get through, if you financially are unable to quit your job, or you, whatever the case may be, then that's not me saying go quit your job to go enjoy your summer and take the time to find your career. If you can, then that's cool. But if you have to work, definitely work. I know a lot of people say like, you're not gonna find your dream job post-graduation, which is something I had to remind myself of every day. By the way, I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty Cocoa Naughty Bronzer. I'm actually gonna pause and actually get that brush because this brush isn't working for me. A lot of the times they tell you you're not gonna find your dream job after graduation. Like your chances of finding that dream job are very slim, because let's be clear, you're graduating, but you're still kind of figuring it out. What you might like now, or the career you like now, might not be what you like in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And so that's something that I really had to kind of tell myself was, as much as I want to find a career, this career placement is probably might not be forever, and that's okay. But I was in a position where I was able to quit my job and go ahead and start looking for those career options. So once again, if you can't do it, or if you don't want to, this is not me saying, ooh, go quit your job to go find your career. No, if you have to work and take the time to find that career until you can find the appropriate position for you, then go ahead and do that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just like, I'm in the middle of summer. They're not keeping up with COVID protocols. Like, I just graduated. I want to get into my career. So we're just gonna quit our job in the middle of a global pandemic. But for me, the summer was great. Without a job, no school, life was great. And then I started to kind of get, like, excuse my language, get the kick in the ass that I needed right around the end of November, beginning of December. So during summer, I wasn't, as much as I was like, oh yeah, I'll look for jobs, looking for jobs for me at that time, I was like, I just kept putting it off, like, I'll put it off, it's fine. But then it was around November, December when I was like, okay, you really, like, you're trying to live your hot girl summer, your best life, and we're almost at the end of the year. Like, it's time to get it all the way together. But for me, the change for me was really when I started to see, my peers and people around me starting to do things that they said they want to do and invest in their business and starting things that they've been saying they wanted to do, right? And I'm like, why am I just like sitting back and like watching everyone fulfill their dreams and do what they love? And I'm just like over here chilling, trying to live my best life in the middle of winter, or going into winter. And so that's not also like, it wasn't as if I was comparing my journey to someone else's journey or where they were at in life, but it was more so I knew I could be somewhere, or I could be doing something that I wanted to do, but I was just procrastinating and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I never want to actually like compare my journey and my story to someone else's, and you never should, just because you'd never know where they're at in life or what's going on. Like, we all have our own separate journeys and we all have our own separate like destinations. So don't compare where you're at in life to where someone else is at in life, because it just doesn't, it will make you so discouraged and make you so distraught, and it'll keep you kind of locked up in like this bubble of negativity that it's going to prohibit you from moving forward. But I was seeing everyone else doing what they were doing, and it wasn't like I wanted to do it too, but it was almost like a conversation to self, like, Jazmine, you say you want to do X, Y, and Z, but you're not taking the steps to do X, Y, and Z, so you can't make it make sense in your, like, make this make sense for you, because it's not making sense. And so it was December when I started applying. So I feel like one part of graduating in the midst of COVID, or when COVID hits, was you we're figuring out life after, like figuring out what to do after graduation. And then once you figure it out and start applying, is like a whole separate can of worms. Like it's a whole separate emotion, whole separate feeling within itself. But I'm actually going to pause this story really quick, pause this conversation, because I can't focus on my eyeshadow and talking at the same time. I'm working on it. But we're actually gonna go in and do our eyeshadow. Today we're gonna just do a warm, neutral look, something subtle, nothing too crazy. I'm actually going to take my bronzer that I used, which was a Fenty Coco Naughty, and just go in, let me actually blend. Coco Naughty, and go in like the crease area. So connecting from where, like the bridge of our nose into the eye. Next, I'm going to be using my NYX Ultimate palette in the shade in Warm Neutrals. I wish it would say the shade names. I tried to find it online, but I wasn't able to find the shade names for you guys. But I'm actually going to be using these two shades. Oops. These two, and just go mixing them, of course, and then kind of go right under where we put that bronzer. So next, I'm actually gonna go in with this warmer, darker shade right here and just kind of blend that into my outer corners. And so finally, I'm using this almost tan or taupe color here, just to kind of go on the lids. So this is the eyeshadow look. I'm actually gonna go ahead and do my lashes off camera. Normally I have lash extensions, but I took them off just to give them a bit of a break. So we're gonna go ahead and put lashes on off camera, and then we'll go ahead and continue where we left off and finish up. Sorry about that, my camera died, but I've gone ahead and applied my lashes. These are just some lashes that I picked up at the drugstore. I ran out of some here at my place. Typically I like more of a more dramatic look with my lashes, but these are all they had, so we made it work. Also, I went ahead and lined my lids. I don't normally do that, which is why I didn't record, but it turned out decent and okay. And then finally actually went in with that color that we used in the crease. Let me go ahead and show it. With that color we used in the crease, I went ahead and put this shade here, put under my eye. And now we're just gonna apply some mascara. But let's get back to the story. So the other half, like I was saying, is applying for jobs in the midst of COVID. And so in December is when I began applying. But one thing that I was noticing is everyone's applying for jobs. So if you've ever applied for jobs via like LinkedIn, I'm not sure if Glassdoor does it, but they like tell you how many applicants are applying for that same position. And so I would see like, ooh, that looks a little crazy. I would see 200, 300, 500, because so many people lost their jobs because of COVID. Now the job market is so saturated with tons of people that are willing to do the work and are looking for jobs. So that's one obstacle. Now what was once a small little pool of people has turned into a huge ocean of people. And that led me to begin to feel like discouraged. And then on top of that, On top of that, it's also a lot of the jobs that I was finding, because typically when you graduate, you are going to want to find like an entry-level position, a position that doesn't require, I'm just gonna blend that out because that looks real dark, real crazy. You're gonna want to find an entry-level position, one that doesn't require too much experience. But what I was finding was it felt like all of the jobs were requiring like 3 to 5 years experience, 5 to 7, like, and I'm just like, I just graduated from college. Where am I gonna get this experience from? Like where? Like make it make sense, because it's not making sense. And so on top of having so many people applying at the same time, the qualifications for 5 to all this experience, I began to feel so discouraged and down on myself that I was really like, was this degree like even worth it? Like, I'm looking in careers that don't typically line up with the major that I majored in. There's all these other people applying. There's all these qualifications that I don't have because I just graduated. And so I started to feel so discouraged and down on myself. And I was looking for jobs, looking for 3 to 5 postings a day. And so imagine doing that every single day. It was just too much for me. It was way too much, because I was beating my own self up. And even so, with like the jobs that required like 5 to 7, or 3 to 5 years experience, I was like, you know what, shoot, I'll still apply and like throw a shot in the dark and fingers crossed it will work. Sometimes there was no response. Of course, there were the rejection emails. And it was just, I was feeling like I got this degree and I thought I was going to be like I said, a little tadpole in a pond. Like the pond would be so much smaller, but in reality, I'm facing an ocean and there's not much opportunity for me because everything's online. So there's not many, it was like an ongoing circle of feeling discouraged. And on top of that, I was like, you know what, let me just take a break from it, because now it's starting to affect how I'm feeling mentally. It's starting to affect how I'm feeling about the last 5 years of my life with this degree, and take a break. On top of that, it was the holiday season. So I'm assuming, hey, maybe they're moving a little bit slower because it's the holidays, right? And so it was actually the end of January, beginning of February, when I was like, you know what, let's keep going and let's get back on the job search. But rather than sitting at a computer looking for 3 to 5 jobs to apply to, I just took it more casual and more slow, so I could find a position that was going to work for me with a company that I was going to work for me. So I'm still applying. Let's be crystal clear. I'm still looking, but these are just some things that like I've learned, and you really just have to kind of change your mentality and your mindset when searching, because it's so easy, especially now with everyone applying. A lot of people have lost their jobs with all of the qualifications and feeling that you don't meet any of them. It's easier just to take the time to, I used my Fenty highlighter, and I mixed afternoon snack and moo honey. It's easier just to like take the time and find a brand or a company that works for you than to just be submitting so many applications for a shot in the dark. And that actually goes back to the conversation about internships and those relationships, which is also still difficult, because those internships and those relationships and connections that you make, like I said, can really impact your placement into a career or into a job. And so that's also an issue now, because we're technically not supposed to be connecting. We're supposed to be at home. So how am I supposed to connect? How am I supposed to build these relationships? How am I supposed to get myself out there? These are all thoughts that ran through my mind. I'm sure they're running through others as well. But like I said, for me, it was just taking it slow, finding a company or a brand that I truly believed in or had any remote interest in, being patient with myself. Like I said, I have these goals and these ideas in mind, and when I don't achieve them, I can be a little bit hard on myself. So just be patient with yourself. because you're figuring it out as you go. And then also using online network. Like, we're all at home. Our world is shifting. Our world is shifting so much to more of an online platform. So being able to connect with people via LinkedIn, like just messaging them saying, hey, I'm so-and-so, like put yourself out there the best way you can while still, you know, staying safe to protocols and everything like that. That was my blush. I used my MAC blush. And then finally, we're gonna go in with some lips. I'm actually gonna set my face really quick. I'm using my Huda Beauty Hydrating Mist. And I take the butt of my beauty blender. I don't know, I think I saw this from like Jackie Aina on some video where she like blended, like patted everything into one, like after the mist. Just patted the face and I felt like it just like blended everything. Everything was just like, ooh, nice and buttery smooth. So I'm going in with my lips. For my lips, I actually received this super cute little mini. I went to Ulta today to pick up one item and one item only, and I'm so glad because I did that. And if you know me, it's so hard for me like not to just like from Ross or Marshalls or like I see things and I want it. But I did get a free cute mini and we're gonna try it out. It is the xoxo. I believe I said that right. I'm so bad with names of things. I don't know why. In the shade Dolly Dreamer. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. This is the shade. Not lining my lips, we're just going all in. Just don't worry about it. We're just gonna commit. I'm such a like nude lip girl. Yeah, no, we're gonna take this off. We're just not. We're not gonna do that to ourselves. But that also goes to a whole conversation about samples. Like, never mind. Anyway, I think I'm actually gonna go in with my MAC Whirl, my go-to, and just tap that on there. So the outcomes, like I was saying, be patient with yourself. Know that it's a process. You have to kind of trust the process. Also, when an opportunity does present itself that could possibly be a beneficial opportunity for you in your career, take full advantage of it. Put yourself out there. Don't put too much pressure on yourself because you're not alone in this journey. Like you're not, everyone's figuring it out as they go. Everyone's trying to, you know, find placement, which can give you a bit of relief, but also be discouraging because there's everyone. But truly just be patient with yourself. And like I said, when an opportunity presents itself, go ahead and take it. Like why not? And I think the last thing for me was your degree is worth it. As much as I felt like my degree didn't directly line up with the career path that I wanted to go into, I've learned that it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't, like you got the degree. It shows that you completed something and that you can successfully complete something. It shows that you can critically think. And sometimes you just have to take the skills that you've had through undergrad or through whatever customer service or retail position you had and apply them to those positions you're looking for. Think on a broader spectrum of how that can connect the dots, connect A to B. Yeah, so your degree isn't like, it's yours. Like you worked so hard for it. You busted your ass for it. And so no one can take that from you. I mean, if I could do undergrad again, I probably would, definitely would. I'm looking into going into potentially, I don't know, like I'm kind of on the fence about it because I kind of want to go for my master's, but at the same time, I'm tired of school, ready to get into work. But overall, just be patient with yourself, love yourself, and whatever comes and whatever is meant for you is meant for you, and it will come. So that is my TED Talk. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. This is the final look. So of course, all products will be listed in the description box below. I think I covered everything. Let me know in the comments below your own personal experience with life post-graduation. Let me know if your experiences are the same, if they're different, or if you are actually graduating this upcoming year and are a little bit apprehensive, because I'm 99.9% sure that someone is going through the exact same thing as you. So I hope I was able to provide a little bit of guidance and relief with my personal story and journey on life after graduation and the midst of COVID. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those post notifications on so you're notified on every single post, as well as follow me on Instagram at the Jazmine Denise. Until I see you guys next time, bye!